So this video recording is to show you how the Art Studio app works. And the main purpose of having the Art Studio app is not only to make nice fancy pictures and to have fun, but it really helped me as a vision impaired student in many ways, in many subjects. So for example, one subject was in art, and to use as an actual sketchbook, its original intention, I guess. And so the art teacher, would everyone would get an art sketchbook that they would pay for, and that about the size of an iPad 8x10 or whatever. But she was willing to buy a nice big one for me, and I said, well, no, that would even be worse, because then I would even be more zoomed in, magnified, if I were to stick it under the CCTV, which would be in another room, by the way. So and of course I have to use pen because I can't see pencil. So there's quite a few challenges that were there. And this is where the Art Studio app came in handy for me with the iPad, because, well, first of all, let's look at the visual look of it. I was able to be in class, sit with everyone else and hold something very comfortable. It wasn't this big, laptop and that I had to slouch over. It's just this nice little book, really. And with the Art Studio app, I had a stylus with me, and with the Art Studio app, I was able to, like we had to draw faces, for example. So I drew the basic thing, the outline of a face. And then when I was working with the eyes and that, which I mainly started with all the time, I could then pinch to zoom in, right to the finest detail, and I could therefore, take my stylus and, do all the necessary, like for example, I did dots, like stippling, and then I would use the blur tool. So it's kind of like Photoshop too, right? So you can do different shading in that, where a person using regular sketchbook and that, they would have to have a special tool for blurring and doing different shading techniques. And so this was kind of nice. And of course, if you made a mistake, you could always undo, just like an eraser. And what else? So the iPad obviously provides its own light, so that was nice, and it has a long battery life too. So the Art Studio app really was nice. I was able to do really fine detail work with it. But another example and another subject that I found it useful as well is in math. And in math we had a puzzle, and it was more of a visual puzzle than anything. Like it was you had this big rectangle, and then you had a whole bunch of little ones inside, like other rectangles. And you had like 3 or 4 colors to work with, and they couldn't touch each other. Like each color couldn't touch the same color. So it was in a variation of patterns, I guess. So what a regular sighted person would do, and my bear, you just take a pencil and you just put in what color you'd want in there and erase and everything, and then when you're done, then you'd color everything in. Well, I wouldn't have been able to do that if it weren't for that app, because like I said, I work with pen. So even if I did sketch in, like, okay, R for red, B for blue, I would make a mistake, and so I would have to keep whiting out until the page is twice as thick. So I didn't really have that option. Plus, this kind of connects with the sketchbook as well, with drawing faces and that. If I were to stick this puzzle underneath the CCTV, I can only zoom out so far, and unfortunately it wouldn't be enough to view everything at once. So with the iPad, I was able to take this puzzle and scan it into my iPad through the Art Studio app, and just like the faces, I was able to see everything and pinch to zoom in to do the fine detail work. And once that sheet was scanned into the Art Studio app, I just like on the computer, I took my paint can tool and selected the color I want and plunked in everything. And of course I ran into mistakes, and so you just press the undo button, that's my eraser. So it was really nice. And just like the faces, once I was done this math puzzle, I simply emailed it to the teacher if they wanted a color copy, or just printed it out as well in black and white. So let's get actually into the Art Studio app now. So I'm just going to slide to unlock. Now I'm just going to use the zoom tool. There we go. So this is the Art Studio app. It's a nice background with a nice palette there. I'm just going to tap on that. And what you're presented with is a blank, white canvas basically. This now, your first comment of seeing this must be one of the most Windows-styled apps you've seen on the iPad. And I say that because you have your palettes onto the left here, all your tools and that. And then you have your color swatches over here, and you can, press to get more. And then just like in Windows you'd see all the time, or just desktop-based, period, you have your file menu at the top. So right now I downloaded a word search into the Photos app. And you could use this as well. This is another great example of using the Art Studio app, is to, if you have a fill in the blank sheet or multiple choice or a word search, you can import that into here, and the student would be able to, do what they need to do, and, it's wonderful. So let's actually try that out. So I'm just zoomed in right here. So to import the crossword, the word search, pardon me, we're going to go to the File menu, and we're going to go to Import from Photos. If you go to before I continue, since I'm zoomed in, if you go to the Import option, it will give you the option to import, to create a new canvas, so you just have that image to work with, or to import multiple photos, so you can create different layers, as well as importing from a camera. So right now we're just importing from the Photos app. I want to go and select our word search. There we go. And so what we're going to do, I'm just going to turn this portrait so so this is something good to note actually. So when you turn the orientation, the app switches. So the menu bar still remains at the top and such, but the actual photo stays the same. So I probably could, without re-importing it, probably just go to the edit menu or something like that up there and just rotate the canvas. But right now we'll just leave it in the landscape orientation. So right now let's say, okay, the student opened up this word search that the class is doing. So over to the left here, there's a variety of tools. You have your paintbrush, marker, pencil, selecting box. So right now we're at the pencil. And down at the bottom you have your text selecting, so you can enter text. You have your gradiency tool, paint can, very similar to Photoshop, a few things. Which, by the way, there is an actual Photoshop app. And then over here you have your color. So right now you see this white little outline. That means we're having the black selected. And so just as an example, one can let me zoom out. So this is what I used to do with my faces for art and for the puzzle, for math. You can just simply pinch to zoom in. So you have everything here. You don't need to use your 3 fingers to zoom in. You can just pinch to zoom in where you want. It's very nice. And just therefore take your 1 finger. I would use a stylus, but I don't have one here with me. And just circle what you want. And you take your 2 fingers and drag, right, because you're zoomed in. And just circle what you want. And then you can either email it to the teacher or print her out, So, and, let's say, okay, so let's go back in. Let's say I didn't want to highlight that, or I made such a mess of doing it. There is an undo button, as expected to be in the edit menu, and just undo. Edit, undo. And so as you see, we're right back to the beginning. I'm just going to pinch to zoom out. Okay. And one thing before we end this introduction of Art Studio is that There's many gestures of Art Studio. They recently incorporated, I believe. So you can view just the image itself. You don't have to have all these tools in the file menu and everything. There is an option to get rid of that, so you're just working with your main canvas. As well as, I think a few other gestures, or there might be some, to undo or something. There might be a certain tapping gesture and whatnot. Or there is, when I was working with it, like, a year or two ago, there was an undo button that's hidden in that, because when I was working with it, we didn't even have the file menu at the top. It was just, everything was just there. So anywho, that's the introduction of Art Studio.